Good night, everybody. Welcome to the Dynasty365 show. I am your host, Stacy Perez. We have got Tyler Heil here with us, and our Fantasy and Frames CEO, Jorge Edwards, is here as well. Guys, we've got a great treat for you tonight. Garret Price is here from Dynasty Nerds. We are going to be doing a really fun mock draft for you guys. So let's get to it. What is up, everybody? Before we get started tonight, don't forget to go on over to that subscribe button and smash that if you haven't already. Make sure you head on over to fantasyandframes.com for more amazing fantasy football content from all of us here at the Fantasy and Frames family. Guys, our guest tonight, Garret Price. Welcome. Garret, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I appreciate the invite, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on and doing our mock draft tonight. Tyler, Jorge, how are you guys doing? How's your week been?
Oh, I've been really good. I thought people were downstairs, and I was worried that all hell was going to break loose, but it was just my dog losing her mind. So we're good.
Yeah, I mentioned on Monday's show that I had watched Guardians of the Galaxy 3 over the weekend, and how I basically had to bring a box of tissues because I thought it was freaking amazing and also very sad. And I get to work today, and I'm talking to somebody who's very analytical in his personality, and I'm asking, "Oh, did you break down in the movie theater also?" And he's like, "No, feelings." I'm like, "Easy, Mr. Spock. Okay, I get it. Emotions don't matter to the rest of you." No. So yeah, I'm doing well. Otherwise,
nice.
That Mr. Spock reference was for like 10 people, but I got it, Jorge.
Yeah, those 10 people got it though. It was exactly. It went for who it was supposed to. It was meant for.
it's for
guys,
exactly.
Have you guys been watching Ted Lasso? Are you guys all up to date on the Ted Lasso show?
Yeah. I'm up to date.
So there's the one that came out today. I haven't watched yet, but I was just thinking, soccer, they do relegation. So I wanted to ask you guys tonight, before we get into our really serious mock draft, I wanted to ask you guys, what NFL team has the most potential to be relegated this year, and why is it the Arizona Cardinals? And what would happen? Would they go to college? Would they go to the XFL? Like, how would we make this happen? I think this is a great idea. I think we need to integrate it and really, really punish those really bad teams and send them down to the lower levels, to the minor leagues. Tyler, who is getting relegated?
Oh, this is an easy answer. The team that has tanked for 3 years is who's getting relegated. The Houston Texans. They hired head coaches just because they didn't want their real head coach to lose. And they sacrificed Lovie Smith and David Culley to the gods. So send Nick Caserio and that entire Houston Texans organization down to wherever the hell they're getting relegated to.
Yeah,
I could have sworn Tyler was about to say straight to hell. I'm like, whoa, Tyler.
That's a strong take.
Lord. Yeah.
Strong thoughts on that. Garret, who is getting relegated?
Well, I'm just glad that this doesn't exist, because the Browns would have probably been a high school team by this point. So I'm really glad this doesn't exist. But for this year, if there had to be a team to go down, I think the Cardinals are pretty obvious, a good choice. The Rams are another one, the Texans, but I'm gonna go with a little bit of a dark horse, and I'm gonna say the Bucks. The Bucks were the team I was gonna go with. That they're in this whole rebuild now. They've got a lot of aging veterans. I could see them moving some of these guys at some point, either in the offseason or maybe even at the trade deadline. So I think they're one of those teams that maybe isn't as obvious, but they could be in really bad shape, and they could really use a future quarterback. So I'm gonna go with the Bucks.
That's not a bad pick. I mean, I'm down here in Tampa, so I can tell you, like, the mighty have fallen. It is not going to be pretty for the Bucks this year. In fact, I had a friend who got season tickets Brady's last year, and they made them buy 2 years. They couldn't just buy like Brady's last year. You had to buy it for the following year as well, because of course they knew they were going to be terrible. So how else they're going to sell tickets, right?
I can think of one person that would vehemently disagree with you, and his name is Baker Mayfield.
I still blame Baker Mayfield for the Lightning losing because he was at the game the last night that we lost. So I feel like he brought his bad juju into the building and just ruined it for us. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it for that. So that was fun, guys. Always like to do something fun like that just to kick us off. But don't forget, please put your comments into the chat. Once we start this mock draft, I want to see what people's thoughts are on our picks. Obviously how much you love all of our picks. If you want to troll our picks, we don't have time for that negativity here. So keep that to yourself. But it looks like I see a ton of people already in the chat, especially our anti-Bucks fans over here, Chris. We see you out there. Guys, let's go ahead and get started with this mock draft just to tell the people what we're doing. We just the 4 of us are going to be doing it tonight. It's going to be 8 rounds, single QB. We're going to be doing 2 receiver, 2 running back, tight end, and 2 flex spots. We're going to have a linear style instead of a snake this time. So I don't end up accidentally skipping anybody. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and listen to our show on Monday where I accidentally forgot about Tyler twice. So my bad. Make sure that doesn't happen this time. But I was trying to sabotage your picks, Tyler. That's all I was doing.
I know. I totally got it. I was on tilt. I forgot to draft running backs. It's screwed.
All right, guys. So let me go ahead and get us kicked off here with our draft, with our mock draft. I'm going to hit the start button. Everybody ready? Everybody ready to go?
Ready.
Do it. All right, Tyler, you are up first.
Okay, I am up first. And since we are trying to build a team here, we're trying to build a roster full of these rookies. I'm going to go with the boring but correct pick and take Bijan Robinson.
Yes. Yeah, I love that pick. Garrett, what do you think about Bijan? Is he this generational talent that everybody expects him to be?
Yeah, he really is that guy. I do grades every year just based on film, not landing spot, not draft capital, nothing like that, just who they are as prospects. And this is the 4th year of doing it, and he's been far and away the highest grade I've had at running back. So he really does seem like he's going to be that guy.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. And I think he's so much fun to watch too. I mean, he's just kind of like one of my most. I'm just so excited to see him really get out there. All right, guys. So I'm up. Oh man. Well, I got some crap for doing what I'm about to do here in our very own Fantasy and Frames rookie draft. But you know what? I don't care because I still really love this player, so I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to take Jahmyr Gibbs. I just think that he has an amazing landing spot. I mean, he goes in, he's playing behind like one of the most boring players ever in David Montgomery. Like you just easily take that spot over from him. They have a great, fun, explosive offense. Jameson Williams is going to be out for a while. I don't see any reason why Jahmyr Gibbs doesn't just, wheels up to the moon for him. So big fan of him there. Jorge, you're on the clock. So, oh no, you're not on the clock yet. Garrett is on the clock. Jorge, tell me about Jahmyr Gibbs. How do you feel about him? Do you like that pick?
Actually, I was hoping he would fall to me at 4. I love the fact, let's talk about, first of all, like the format of this draft where we have 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and 2 flexes in terms of the roster spots we're filling out here. So I like the fact that you didn't jump just for a quarterback just because it isn't super flex. I like Gibbs. I like the fact that everyone's touting his role in the receiving game already. Generally speaking, I personally, my draft strategy when I'm doing rookie drafts is I like in my startups to really hammer home the wide receiver position so that way I can get these running backs in rookie drafts just because of the fragility of the position. And let me get these players that have tons of upside at the running back position versus counting on some veterans that may be a little worse for wear in terms of tread on the tires, if you get what I'm saying. So, yeah, I like the pick.
Thank you. Garrett, you're up.
Yeah, and I was excited to get to pick 3rd because you get to make my decision for me. It's if Gibbs falls to 3, then I take Gibbs. But if Jackson Smith and Jigba falls to 3, I take Jackson Smith and Jigba. So top rated wide receiver in this class. I really liked what I saw of him. Honestly, if he had the speed of some of these other wide receivers that we've seen come out recently, or some of the ones in this class, we would be talking about him in the same tier as rookies as Chase and CD Lamb and like these types of guys. That's the caliber he would have been if he just had a little bit more speed. He doesn't, but he does everything else very well. Really good route runner, really smart player, great hands, and truly elite body control. So I'm all in on Jackson Smith and Jigba, and I think he could even do some things as a rookie. I know that Metcalf is there. I know Tyler Lockett's there, but he's going to do some great things over the middle of that field with Geno Smith.
That's what I was going to ask you is how did you feel about that landing spot?
Yeah, I'm totally good with it. I'm totally fine with it. We saw Geno was good enough to make both of those guys relevant still last year. Lockett's 31 years old, and as much as they still do run him out of the slot at times, he's basically at this point in his career, he's a catch and fall down guy. Like he doesn't do much with the ball after he makes his catches. Jackson Smith and Jigba really does do a lot in the open field. So I think that there's a lot of good things to be done here with the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, they're going to be a fun offense to watch for sure. Jorge, you are up. What are you thinking?
So originally my thought was here going wide receiver, looking at who we got, Quentin Johnson, Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers are jumping out here. And so when I'm thinking about a receiving option, I want to really hitch my wagon to which team has the best quarterback situation for the long haul. And it made my decision kind of tricky between Quentin Johnson and Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison walking into Thielen's role, I believe, should see a lot of targets come his way. But we don't know the Kirk Cousins situation. Is he going to be back into next year? Is he going to be back the year after that? I don't know. That could be a very fluid situation. Quentin Johnson, he has oh my God, why am I forgetting his name? Justin Herbert. Obviously, there's more longevity there. But I think I'm going to go and zag where others are zigging. And I'm going to go tight end. I'm going to go with Dalton Kincaid. I really like this tight end. I think he's one of the elite talents amongst all the positions here, and tying him in with Buffalo with Josh Allen. And they're already talking about him basically being their de facto slot receiver. So I like that. I like that pick right there.
Oh, I see Chalupa Batman in the chat there with the "you like that" from Kirk Cousins, if I remember that correctly, right?
Indeed.
I just want somebody else to say it the way that he did it, and it won't be me for sure.
You like that? Okay, there we go.
Yes. I really like Dalton Kincaid. I've been trying to target him in a lot of drafts lately, but he's a lot of fun. And that offense, I mean, I'm taking any rookie on an elite offense, right? Like, I don't know how you go wrong with that. But Tyler, you're on the clock.
I am up, and Jorge made quite a few arguments for me, and I appreciate that. He kind of talked about the difference between Quentin Johnston and his quarterback scenario versus Jordan Addison and his quarterback scenario. All of that said, I am going to go with the player between the two of them that I like better. And I'm going to be honest, Jordan Addison is my wide receiver one in this class. I love Jackson Smith and Jigba. I just think Jordan Addison's ability to separate is elite, and his lack of weight doesn't concern me too much just because of the rules of the game. They want as much offense as possible. He's going to play flanker. He's going to play off the line of scrimmage. He's not going to get beat up at the line of scrimmage because they're not going to allow him to. And if he can get off the line of scrimmage, he's going to get open because, like I said, he has elite separation and fantastic hands. And I do trust the Vikings to have some sort of a plan in place behind Kirk Cousins. So I'm going to take Jordan Addison.
Tyler, if you keep taking my players, I am going to start skipping you.
Go right ahead.
He was on my list. I love him so much. I love that spot for him. If I remember right, I think Thielen last year had like 107 targets. So that's like what's available for him. And I mean, I think he probably eats into Hawkinson's a little bit as well. And I'm not really worried about Osborne. I mean, if he was such a stud, he would have shown up now by this point. So
Osborne's a nice number 3. And he got 90 targets last year. There's 107 Adam Thielen targets available. And I guarantee you, KJ Osborne ain't getting 90 targets again.
No. I mean, they're just waiting for somebody. And I think that somebody is Jordan Addison. I'm a big fan there. I'm really jealous that you have him. Okay, so I'm up now, and and then it covers. It really does. That's really funny. That the Tyler Who quote covers Tyler's face. Guys, if you're watching on YouTube, you will get that. If not, make sure to go check it out because that's pretty entertaining. All right, guys. Oh, I am down to 2 minutes. Who am I gonna pick? You know, I think we did mention him briefly, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and take a stab at Quentin Johnston. Probably not my favorite receiver out of this group, but that's okay because I think he's going to a really good offense. I think he could be that kind of missing piece for them. They really kind of floundered last year when Allen was hurt. Mike Williams, down the stretch. So I think that they've got somebody now who, big receiver can kind of go in and kind of be that third option for them. Josh Palmer's okay, but I think this gives them another really good option as well. So they're on a great offense. Justin Herbert's wonderful. So I think this is a good spot for him as well. So I feel okay. I don't feel great about it. I think I would have liked the other 2 receivers that we've got off the board a little bit better. But since they weren't available, I'm going to go ahead with Quentin Johnston.
So they need to refilm the movie Face Off for those that watched that older 1997 movie, but with KJ Osborne and Joshua Palmer.
Oh my God.
KJ Osborne is Josh Palmer.
Which one is which though? Who's Nicolas Cage and who's oh my God.
Oh man, I don't know. I wasn't ready for that question.
John Travolta.
Travolta. Thank you, Travolta. All right. Well, think about it. I want to know because now who's the bad one and who's the good one. I don't know their personalities well enough.
All right, Garrett, what are you thinking here, man?
Yeah.
All right, this is a nice situation because obviously the draft, the way that we're formatting it, and we're trying to build out a team, it does change a little bit of how you draft as opposed to just where I would normally just take whoever's the highest on my board. But this situation, it actually works out that both guys are the same, and that's Devon Achane. Achane, I get a running back here, which obviously I took a receiver in the first round, so I needed a running back. But this was a hand-in-glove fit between Achane and that offense. That outside zone scheme, it's predicated on being able to have one cut go with speed. That's why Mostert was so successful in San Francisco. We're going to see a lot of that same thing with Achane in Miami. So this was a perfect opportunity to be able to get a guy that has crazy high ceiling potential.
I love Devon Achane so much, and I just got sniped on both sides from Tyler and from Garrett now. Guys, this has got to stop. Jorge, you are on the clock. Who are you looking at? Who are you thinking? Where are you going to go?
I'm thinking I wish I could go back and swap to the third spot and take Achane where Garrett just took him because that was an awesome pick there. Yeah. I love it. I love Achane. For me, I'm thinking running back, and so I want to look for running backs that have the clearest pathway to starting snaps. And so Achane, we're banking on his playmaking potential, basic, and the fact that can't be ignored by this coaching staff in Miami. But he's not on the board anymore, right? So we're talking Charbonnet. We know the situation there in Seattle with Walker and McIntosh there. So I'm going to go Kendre Miller. I think there's a shorter leash on Alvin Kamara there, given his legal woes. And Kendre Miller, if something was to happen, would step into that immediate RB1 role there for the Saints. So give me Kendre Miller.
Kendre Miller. I mean, Jorge, who I didn't hear you mention in the Saints backfield there is one Mr. Jamal Williams. So just zero respect for Swag Daddy. All right, where is that coming from? I don't even know.
I mean, that was a shot. You were not wrong. Wrong.
What does the man got to do? He led the league in touchdowns last year. Come on now.
You're not wrong. I'm not saying. Look, I'm just saying. I just feel Miller is obviously that person that they drafted to take over eventually for Kamara, and Jamal Williams. He had his time. He
did. I like him though. But what I've been trying to do in drafts right now is to get him and Kendre Miller on the same team, just so that they can kind of complement each other. But obviously we're not doing that because this is a dynasty draft. But Tyler, where are you headed now? You've got some green, you got some blue on there.
Oh yeah, and now is when the structure of the draft comes into play for me. I mean, Bijan was, if I'm looking at my tiers, Bijan was by himself. Then Jahmyr Gibbs was on another tier by himself. Wide receivers, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jordan Addison, I had them on the same tier. I had Quentin Johnston kind of on a tier by himself. Dalton Kincaid, tier by himself. Devin A-Chain and Kendra Miller. This draft has not gone well for me in the order of my rankings. So, and I do not have a lot of tiers left. So what I'm going to do, since it is a 1 quarterback draft and I'm shooting for ceiling here, I'm going to go ahead and take Anthony Richardson.
Ooh. All right. Tell me about Anthony Richardson. Why do you want to take him as the first quarterback off the board?
So I went against my rankings a little bit because I do have Bryce Young at QB1. But that said, when you're in a 1 QB league, the quarterback is not all that important. You know, you're going to have 40 guys every year that have a QB1 week. So why not go for the guy that could be rushing for 100 yards, passing for 200 yards like Justin Fields was last year? Bryce Young he simply isn't going to be that guy. He's a fine athlete. He's not a 60, 70, 80 rush yards a game athlete. He doesn't have the best weapons. He has serviceable weapons right now. Anthony Richardson sharing a backfield with Jonathan Taylor. He has Michael Pittman out wide. Alec Pierce, I like him. They drafted Josh Downs. They have 47 tight ends that run like a 4.6 or under. So I'm a fan of the weapons that the Colts have amassed around Anthony Richardson, and I think he is going to see the field a lot sooner than people want to believe.
So do you think that he starts this year, or do you think it's Minshew?
I think it's going to be Richardson. The easy answer 2 weeks ago was Minshew, but okay. We know what we got in Minshew. I mean, yeah. Minshew's he's a top backup in the league. He's great. I would love to have him on my roster, but there's nothing quite like reps. You know, is it going to create maybe some scars? You don't want to leave him with too many scars, but I think Richardson's going to get out there sooner rather than later and be running all over the field with Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you draft somebody that high if you don't intend on using them right away. So I tend to think that he's probably going to start either right off the bat or not very soon after that. All right, guys, I have 55 seconds left. It's a good thing I know who I'm taking. Definitely not going to get sniped on this one. One of my faves. Give me a nice glass of Chardonnay over here. I'm going to go ahead and just be done with my running backs right off the bat. I want some good ones, even though I think there are a lot of really good ones in this draft. But I really like Zach Charbonnet. You know, at first, I got to tell you, on draft night, I was absolutely horrified with his landing spot. I was just distraught with him going to Seattle. I thought that was the worst place possible he could go. But I think I've kind of come around a little bit to it now. I'm starting to kind of be okay, maybe this isn't that bad. These are really run heavy offense. Pete Carroll loves to run. I don't know how much you can trust what he says, right now about, we're going to use both the guys and all that. But, Ken Walker's got some injury history. And if that happens, I think Zach Charbonnet is stepping right into that number one role, no problem. He's a really strong, aggressive runner. I really like his style of play. Pour me a glass of Charbonnet. Love it. Garrett, you are up. You are on the clock.
I am up here. And I am going to go with Zay Flowers here. He's the best available guy on my board. I'm good with taking 2 receivers at this point because even though there are some other receivers that I do like, I think that he's one of the last 2 guys in a tier for me. He was my number 2 guy going into the process. Then after the draft, he bumped down to number 3 behind Addison, but I do believe in the playmaking ability. And look, I know Baltimore is not the sexiest landing spot ever, but we have seen a very similar style player succeed in this offense in Marquise Brown. So I do think that we could see him be successful there. He just moves differently than a lot of other players. So it's a ceiling play, but I do think that there's going to be a lot of targets still there. And I see him in a very similar tier as Addison and Johnston. So to get him around later, I feel pretty good.
Looks like we've got a fan of that pick over in the chat here with Great Gramada saying the Ravens rookie wide receiver might outplay everybody in that core. Yeah, I mean, I think it's only, a matter of time till OBJ, something happens with him, he gets hurt, something like that. And then obviously Andrews is going to be getting, a ton of those targets, but then he's really just fighting out with Bateman. I mean, you've got some other guys back there too, but, I think that he's got definitely a path to making himself, a really relevant receiver in that group for sure.
Absolutely.
Jorge, what's up?
So y'all know I like my running backs, but I feel I could still find value at the position versus and wide receiver. There is depth there. Obviously I'm picking at the end of the draft here, so I have to really kind of go reach a little bit here. So I think I'm going to go with quarterback here and just get that out of the way. I'm going to go Bryce Young. I like what they're doing in Carolina. I know that sounds really weird to say. Believe me, it just felt weird saying it right now. But they have the coaching staff in place that I have confidence in terms of developing this quarterback. I like the addition of Miles Sanders, to be honest with you. A lot of people, are like, "Ooh, Miles Sanders, gross." Yeah, I get it. But when he's been healthy, he's been a top, fantasy performer for you. They're slowly building weapons around him. The defense is really starting to get solidified there, especially for all you IDPers out there. Pay attention to that. But the fact of the matter is they're not going to be good for a while, so they're going to need to throw a lot in games. And I think you could see him with his upside, both running and passing. It's the best quarterback I think that's available at this point in the draft.
Have you seen any of the videos out there with them practicing? Like, does that bother you at all? Like after seeing him, and he does kind of look a little slight in comparison to some of the other players. Does that change your opinion about Bryce Young at all?
No, because they won't be able to see him when they went to go tackle somebody. He's like, "Where'd he go? I can't find him. Where did he go?" And then he's like 15 yards down the field, scampering towards the end zone. That's fine with me as long as he gets me the rushing yards and points. Care less.
Yes, I love that. That's I don't have. I mean, he's been small his whole career. Like he's used to playing at his size against guys that are a lot bigger than him. Now he's just playing against more professional guys that are bigger than him. So I think he'll be fine. I'm not concerned. Not concerned yet. That might come back to bite me. Who knows? But I'm not worried yet. Tyler, what's going on?
All right.
In a minute.
So I've got a couple wide receivers here that I really like. I am not going to name names in hopes that one comes back to me. I also have a couple tight ends that I really like. I think those are pretty easy to figure out, frankly. I already have my quarterback. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my RB2, who is my next ranked player on my board, and I'm going to take Tank Bigsby. And a lot of people, it's kind of, okay, Tank, whatever. He could take some goal line carries. Travis Etienne was viewed as a super dual threat coming out of Clemson. But what you got to remember is Doug Peterson doesn't see Travis Etienne as that. Look at his usage. JaMychal Hasty didn't play much in the early season. Week 8, Travis Etienne had 5 targets, I believe. I'm losing my mind. Week 7, 5 targets, 1 reception for 5 yards. He had 5 targets and 4 targets in the weeks leading up to that. After that week, he did not have more than 3 targets in a single game. JaMychal Hasty came in and played that pass-catching role. That was not Travis Etienne's role. It simply was not. JaMychal Hasty came in and got 4 targets, 1, 2, 5, 1, 3, 6. And also Jamal Agnew was getting some running back targets. So they did not bring Tank Bigsby in here to be a ground and pound between the tackles, goal line crusher. They brought him in here to be an RB2 in this committee, take a pass catching role, and possibly steal goal line carries from Travis Etienne. So I feel really good about the role that Tank Bigsby is walking into and that he's going to carve out for himself to be productive for fantasy football.
Yeah, I like that pick. So Kyle in the chat mentioned that he prefers Roshan to Tank Bigsby personally. While I'm trying to figure out who my next pick is going to be, Garrett, how do you feel about Roshan versus Tank Bigsby?
Both players I like. Both guys I had ranked pretty highly pre-draft in the process. I do have Tank just a hair higher, but I can understand the Roshan love there because his opportunity could be a little bit more so early on. Yeah, at least has a clearer path with guys that aren't as established, don't have the draft capital. But Tank Bigsby, I did have ranked as a little bit higher pre-draft, and I think I think Tyler's points are valid. I think that there is going to be more than one back used. We've seen that typically out of Peterson. And in the Travis Etienne experiment, he had basically 4 games that were good. And then after that, almost all of his other games, he was a running back 3 or worse. So I don't know how much they really trust Travis Etienne to be that guy.
Huh. All right, guys. Oh, I have 18 seconds. Oh, gosh, what am I going to do? I was narrowing it down between 2 receivers. I'm just going to pull the trigger on this one. Jonathan Mingo, Ole Miss. Big fan here, like Jorge, like what you were talking about with Bryce Young and them, putting some really talented guys around him. I like Mingo. I like this pick for Carolina. I think he's got the size that a lot of the receivers, in this class particularly don't necessarily have. I think that he and Young are going to be a nice little dynamic duo in the years to come. You've got Thielen, who, let's face it, it's getting a little bit up there. DJ Chark is okay. Nothing wrong with DJ Chark, but he's just all right. So I kind of like what they've done with Mingo here, bringing him in. Now that they don't have DJ Moore anymore, they don't have their star. So I like Mingo. I like the opportunity that he's going to have in this offense, especially kind of paired up with Bryce Young, kind of learning together, growing together in the league. So I think he's going to be a lot of fun to watch in that offense once they, kind of get the kinks out right at first. But Garrett, now that I've talked enough about Jonathan Mingo, who are you thinking about taking?
Yeah, I get to get my boy here, and I've had a lot of people tweet at me, comment on videos like, but his knee. Yes, I understand. There's concerns about his knee. But look, you know who has access to all of those medical reports? The Tennessee Titans do. They have access to all of that stuff, and they still decided to draft him in the 3rd round. There was rumors that he might go higher than that had there not been the knee concerns, but you're still using a 3rd round pick. And Derrick Henry's still there. Derrick Henry's great. That's the other thing I hear a lot about. Darrington Evans did it, and Hilliard, and blah, blah, blah. Derrick Henry wasn't 29 and on the last year of his deal when those guys came in. That's where we're at right now with the Tennessee Titans. They look like they're in more or less rebuild mode. There were rumors that Henry might even get traded this offseason. Hasn't happened yet, but we'll see what happens. It's still young into the offseason, so it still could absolutely transpire. But worst case scenario, he gets to rest those terrible knees for a year and then come out as the starting running back next year. So talent-wise, I had him just a hair below Gibbs. I think we're talking about elite elusiveness when we're talking about Tyjae Spears. So I will take the discount all day long on Spears.
Garrett, I think our minds have like melded because I was going to ask you about, all the guys that have been backups to Henry before and they really haven't done anything. And, so that's everybody's argument against Spears.
Yeah.
But like you already touched on that and dispelled those rumors. You've put it all to rest.
I've heard a lot of the anti-Spears arguments, so I'm like well-versed in preparation for all of it. Yeah.
I like it. Jorge, you are on the clock.
So I've been kind of like, going at every single position, not doubling up on anyone, so to speak. And I'm really tempted to take another running back here. But I think I'm going to keep my theme going for this draft. And I'm going to select one of your guys, Stacy, whose head coach on draft night said, "We got our guy." And when someone like Sean Payton says we got our guy at the receiver position, that makes me pretty confident. So I'm going to go with Marvin Mims here at Denver Broncos. We don't know what's going to happen with let's start from we don't know what's going to happen with Jerry Jeudy or Cortland Sutton. The Sutton on the move? Is Jeudy on the move? Who's going to be the long-term investment there? You would think Jeudy, given the draft capital. So that would mean Sutton would be on the way out. Potentially. But I just, for me, this is more of what does the organization, what does the coach think? And somebody with an offensive mind like Sean Payton, if he thinks he's got their guy and this is the first person they targeted in the draft, just sign me up and trusting the landing spot here.
My love for Marvin Mims knows no bounds. I love that player so much. And I think you're right. I mean, I don't think either Sutton or Judy, I think one of them is not long for Denver. And who knows, maybe Russ isn't either. But if your coach is saying we got our guy, like, you know, they're going to use him. You know, he's going to be incorporated into the offense unless something, you know, absolutely horrific happens. Like, he's going to be used. And I do not leave a draft right now without Marvin Mims. That is like my personal rule that is just like tattooed on my forehead. Like, get Marvin Mims before you get out of here. I love that guy. Love it. Tyler, what's up? Who are you taking?
Well, Jorge took one of the people that I wanted. Garret took the last running back that I had on a tier. So you guys are absolutely killing me here.
Snipers everywhere.
All over the place. So what I am going to do is, since I already have 2 running backs, I have my quarterback, I'm still comfortable with a few tight ends that are left. I'm going to take my next highest ranked wide receiver, who I felt really good about pre-draft. I still feel really good about post-draft, even with a quarterback question mark, but it's Jaden Reed.
Ooh.
I lean toward a certain type of wide receiver, and it's guys that can separate, as evidenced by my Addison and Jaden Reed pick. I think Jaden Reed walks into an immediate wide receiver 2 role in Green Bay. They just don't have anyone else. They have Christian Watson and then maybe their tight ends.
Hello.
Oh, God, I'm sorry. The
disrespect to Romeo Dubs. That's okay.
Oh, my goodness.
Is Romeo Dubs going to be the 3rd guy in the face-off?
Romeo who? Romeo who? What? How do you feel about that offense? Because I literally just had this conversation with somebody like right before we got on tonight. Like, are we taking people in the Green Bay offense? How do we feel about them? Are they going to be bad? Are they worth taking?
So the thing we got to remember is the Packers went into this offseason knowing that Aaron Rodgers probably was not going to be around. You know, I think that was kind of a foregone conclusion. They had every opportunity to draft a player, to move up and draft a player, to sign a free agent quarterback that can come in and start. They believe that Jordan Love, actually is going to do well. They believe in him, and they're giving him every opportunity to do so. They drafted him weapons. They drafted him 2 tight ends in the 3rd round. They drafted him Jaden Reed. They have a really good running back in Aaron Jones. They have a running back in AJ Dillon. And
we have a running back.
How dare you? Unreal.
Godzilla. Unbelievable.
I'm sorry, but yeah, I feel pretty good about that offense, and I think Matt LaFleur is going to get his time to shine, and we're going to see some productive fantasy football players come out of that offense.
Well, I mean, as a Packer fan, I certainly hope so. Although I'm not holding my breath too much for this year. I think it's going to be a sad season in Packer land. But who knows? Maybe not. Oh, look at me. We've just been talking. We have 44 seconds left on the clock. I'm glad this guy fell to me. This is strictly a vibes-based pick right here. Josh Downs. I just think he's so much fun. He just plays with so much confidence. I mean, he's a smaller guy, right? But like, he plays like somebody who is like 6'6", 200 something pounds. I mean, he is in guys' faces. He is bringing in the ball. I think he's going to be at one. I think Richardson's going to be so fun to watch. And then you pair him, like, throw Downs in there, get him in the mix. I know you got a lot of other mouths to feed in Indy. You know, you got Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce. That's fine. But you know what? I don't think any of them have the personality that Josh Downs does. And I am super pumped to see him in this offense. And I just think this will be a fun pick. Like I said, definitely a vibes-based pick here for me on that one, just because I do appreciate a player who plays with so much confidence. I'm trying to think of like who he reminded me of when I first started watching his film, and not at all because of like his play or anything like that. It was just more so like the confidence which he took out onto the field. And now I'm like completely blanking, of course, after I just bring it up, but I'll think of it eventually. But Garrett, you are on the clock. I have taken up like almost a minute of your time here just talking about Josh Downs.
No,
Where
you're good.
are you headed? What color are you going this time?
I feel like the responsible thing to do and what I'm actually going to do are two different things, because I don't have a tight end. I don't have a quarterback. That's probably what I should do in this type of format when we're trying to construct a team. But you get to a point where they're like, there's only so many of these guys left, and I really like the player. So I am going to go with Roschon Johnson here. I'm going to take my third running back at this point. I mentioned him earlier. I do think he has a clear path to touches. As much as I think Foreman's done a lot with the little bit he's been given post Achilles, I don't think he's a real barrier. And Herbert's a really talented electric player, but sometimes these guys, when they're holdovers from old regimes, coaches just want to get their guys, and they drafted Roschon in a spot where he could really end up being their guy. So I'm going to go with Roschon Johnson at the 5-3 here.
How do you feel about people calling him like discount Bijan?
That's horrible.
I haven't heard that yet. So
I
haven't. No. I'm interested to like, what do they mean by that exactly? Because like, you give me 80% of Bijan, yeah, I'm cool with that. Like, totally
that's
good
what
with
I
that.
took it as. I took it as like a compliment. I was like, you can get, it's like, well, you could get, if you don't get Bijan, you don't get the first pick. You can just wait a few rounds and pick up Roschon Johnson because he's a great running back. He got overshadowed by Bijan. So I kind of took it as a compliment. I don't know if the people that I heard it from meant it that way, but that's just kind of how I took it.
There we go.
Yeah. Jorge, what's going on? You've got the most colorful board here out of all of us.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So Garrett kind of helped make my decision for me. It was either going to be Roschon or this player. Roschon's not on the board. So give me somebody whose quarterback who was selected, I believe, second overall, decided, hey, I want this wide receiver on my team. Give me Tank Dell. Just targets, all the targets in Houston. All the targets. Tank Dell's way. Perfect for this for fantasy. So yeah, I'm going to go with Tank Dell here.
Tank Dell's such a fun player, and he's little, right? But he's so fast, and I think he's going to be a good time on that offense down there, which may not have a lot to be happy about, but I think he'll be a bright spot for them with him and Stroud. Tyler, you're up.
All right, I am up, and I'm getting to the point where I'm getting antsy. I feel like it's going to come to you guys, and all of these tight ends are going to be gone.
I just feel like you're going to snipe me. You're about to snipe me right now.
We'll see. I'm going against a little bit of kind of what I've been talking about the whole time, because we talked about teams in the offseason that could and should add another receiver. And one of those teams was, hey, we really feel that Detroit should add another receiver. And they didn't add another receiver in the draft, really. But they added a pass catcher. They added Sam Laporta. And that tells me that they believe in him. He is going to have every opportunity to play. They got rid of TJ Hawkinson because they didn't love him. That is a wide open position on a very good offense run by Ben Johnson. So I feel great about Sam Laporta rarely producing as a rookie tight end and moving forward.
Tyler, get out. That was going to be my pick. I wanted that Detroit stack in the worst way. How about I trade you Josh Downs for Laporta, and then you can have the Indy stack and I'll have the Detroit stack.
No, thanks.
Rude. I like Laporta for all the same reasons. I think he steps right into that tight end one spot. I think there could, out of all the guys, honestly, I really like Kincaid's landing spot, but man, Laporta, I think he won the lottery. I hope he went out. Well, not really. That's probably not a good thing if you're a Lions fan. Don't go out and gamble. Maybe have a friend do it, but for you. But gosh, I think he hit the jackpot in that spot for him. I think that's a great spot. So, all right, so that's fine. So now I'm going to go tight end, and I'm going to go with my backup favorite tight end. No, it's not Darnell Washington, as much as I would love to take him. Famously do love some Darnell Washington. That's not him. It's a little too early for that. Definitely not in an 8-round draft. Gonna take Michael Mayer here. He goes out to Vegas. He's joining Garoppolo in the all handsome team, right? But I think that, Waller's gone, Moreau's gone. So who do we have there? We got a vacuum, but somebody's got to step into that role. Of course, Devontae Adams is going to be the guy, as he should be, because he's amazing. But then who do we have, right? We got Josh Jacobs. Okay, sure. Hunter Renfrow. Like, who else? Who else are some receivers on their team right now? I'm like blanking. I can't.
Jacoby Myers.
Thank you, Jacoby Myers. See, I didn't even remember.
I got you.
Jacoby Myers. One would think that he actually played for them when he played for the Patriots last year at that last game. If you don't remember that, go Google it. But I like Michael Mayer in this spot. I think it's tough for rookie tight ends to get production, right? To really like make be fantasy relevant, but I think that Mayer has a good path to that and becoming fantasy relevant in this particular role that he's in on this team. Garret, are you going to add some more colors to your team? What's going on here? You got a lot of green going on.
Yeah, I got a lot of green. I should just draft all running backs and we'll run the Wildcat and it'll be fantastic. I don't think you're allowed to do that in fantasy, but I sure would try. No, actually, I was terrified that you were going to take this guy, and I probably should have taken him like 2 or 3 rounds ago, but he kept falling. I was just going to kind of play chicken and see how long it would last. And CJ Stroud is still there. So I'm going to take CJ Stroud, the last first-round quarterback off the board here in the 6th round. I actually have him as my quarterback too. I like Young. I think he can do a lot of good things. I think Stroud's just a little bit safer, a little bit more prototypical in almost every way. Very accurate quarterback. And I think that there's some exciting things that could be happening there with the Houston Texans. So I'm going to go with CJ Stroud.
I like CJ Stroud. Hopefully he doesn't get relegated next year with the Texans.
Hopefully not.
That would be bad for your dynasty team. I like Stroud though. I like his pick. I think he's in I think it's a good thing for Houston fans, right? They haven't had a lot to look forward to the last few years. So I like Stroud. I think that'll be a fun pick for them. Ohio State homer.
Look, when we have first rounders after first rounders, like eventually you just have to draft them. Like, there's only so many players in the league that aren't
good eventually.
Jorge, you are up. What is going on over there with your board? Who are you taking?
I'm not even an Ohio State fan, and I'm insulted by that, Tyler. That is horrible. You are fantastic. Terry McLaurin is an Ohio State Buckeye. He's, last I checked, he's pretty good.
I was talking about quarterbacks, Jorge.
Just making sure we're not talking about everybody. But let's talk about a running back here. I think I need to get back on the board here with running backs because, Garret has all of them. So I'm going to go here with somebody who it's a great landing spot, but there's still some murky water there. We don't know what's going to happen with Joe Mixon, but if Joe Mixon for some reason ends up not playing for the Cincinnati Bengals, Chase Brown just jumps into this offense. Give me this running back with the opportunity to be right here with Joe Burrow. It's a no-brainer for me in terms of which offense I trust this running back to be in. So give me Chase Brown.
I like Chase Brown. I mean, like, who else they have back there? Chris Evans and was it Travion Williams? Am I remembering
Chris
that
Evans wasn't active for like the second half of last season.
Exactly. I mean, I was just looking at the depth charts the other day. Like, he's still hanging around, but I mean, like, how can you go wrong? Like, it's basically the backup, running back on an elite offense. Like, and especially, if you're talking about like matchups and everything now that the schedule's been released, like that last game, I mean, week 17, come on. Right? Like, he should definitely get to. I love that pick. I think that's fantastic.
Shevin knows what's up. What's up, Shevin? How you doing?
Shevin knows. All right, Tyler, who are you going to snipe for me now?
I don't think I'm going to snipe anyone from you here, Stacy.
I hope not.
I'm going to take a guy that was a later day 3 pick. I think it has more to do with just kind of maybe off the field stuff that he He's always been a highly touted recruit. He was very successful in college. And the Los Angeles Rams have a starting running back that they actively do not want on their roster, that they tried to chuck overboard last year and couldn't succeed. So, and I'm talking about Cam Akers, if you're wondering. So the guy I'm going to take a shot on is Zach Evans.
I like it. I mean, I think you're right. Like, it was such a weird little soap opera, right, with them last year. It's like, we don't want Cam Akers, and then we're fine with him. And then Cam Akers wants to trade, doesn't want to play. There's
He
a lot
apologized.
Yeah, well, it's cat's out of the bag, man. You can't stuff that cat back in a bag. So that's weird. That's a weird situation. Garrett, what do you think about that backfield with Akers and Evans, and then I'm going to think about who I'm going to pick here while you are telling the people about those two players.
Yeah, Evans is a really interesting one for me. There were times watching his tape where you would see him do some things. You're like, oh, that's nice. And then you would watch like 10 plays where you're like, what are you doing? So that's the tough part about Evans is he's very Jekyll and Hyde out there, but I do like guys with good pedigree. He was actually battling with Bijan for that top running back spot coming out of high school. He was the number one guy up until the very end. Bijan Robinson ended up leaping him as the highest grade according to 24/7 Sports. So, at this point in the draft, you might as well swing for the fences, and I think that's what Zach Evans is a home run threat. Could it blow up? Sure, but so could every player at this point in the draft. So I'm good with it.
All right, so I'm going to do something here that's kind of gross. Just putting you guys on notice right now, because I see 3 red squares up there. I'm the only one who doesn't have a red square, and we know who's left. We know what's about to happen. So I'm just going to embrace it. I will not put mayo in my coffee ever. But you know what? I mean, maybe Tannehill gets traded. Maybe he's not there. Famously, doesn't seem like they really like Malik Willis, right? So potentially you've got a starting quarterback there with Will Levis. And, maybe he reverts to his 2021 season was his good season, not 2022. So maybe that's the true him. And, maybe he and Mike Vrabel can sit around and eat some bananas together and not peel them. I don't know. Maybe he'll just ingratiate himself there and that coaching staff. And, they'll want to get him the ball more, get him involved. So at this point, the way that I was kind of building my team, putting that together, I didn't put such a high premium on quarterback. So Will Levis, come on down to
it's funny.
Stacy's.
It's funny. Will Levis eating a banana with the banana peel on looked like a douche, but I feel like the Titans head coach could definitely make it look cool.
Right? That's totally something Vrabel would do, right? I mean, come on, guys. 100%, right? If there's any head coach out there that's going to eat a banana peel just straight, how is it not Mike Vrabel? Right? Who else would do that? Tom Campbell, maybe, but that's the only other one I can think of.
Right. Vrabel would do it and then wink at the camera, and you'd be like, I gotta do that. I gotta do what that guy's doing.
Anyway. Yes. Oh my goodness. Oh gosh. All right, Garrett, where are you looking at? Who are you looking at right now?
Yeah, there's a few different guys that I have my eye on, but I think ultimately I'm going to go with a home run threat. And it was a player I didn't love his tape in Jalen Hyatt, but the huge plays are absolutely there. Limited route tree, but really solid hands, better hands than I had expected going into it. But ultimately, it's one of those situations where who else is going to catch the ball in New York? Like, there's not a lot of established options. So give me a player that could end up being their top wide receiver at some point. So there were rumors that he was going to even go higher in the draft than he did, fell a little bit. But at this point in the draft, I think Hyatt's good value.
I mean, I think the only thing that current receiver room in New York excels at is being mediocre. Right. I mean, that's a pretty rough. What was it Paris Campbell? Darius Slayton. Wandale's coming back from an injury. I actually like Wandale, but yeah, I mean, it's just not great. It's nothing to make you say, "Ooh, that's exciting," right? I mean, Jalen Hyatt could take that role. It could be exciting for them.
We shall see. It's worth a shot.
There you go.
Jorge.
Yeah, so this is definitely going to turn some heads. This is going to be making people scratch their heads. And it really comes down for me to utilization. And originally, I'm thinking wide receiver. And my initial thought was like, we'll go with the wide receiver with the best quarterback. Go with Rashee Rice. He has Patrick Mahomes throwing him the ball. Well, Rashee Rice or any other wide receiver is not going to be the best receiving option for Patrick Mahomes. That will always be, until he's no longer on the team, Travis Kelce. So you're playing second fiddle in that situation. This person probably could have gotten him in the last round, which is coming up here. But I'm going to reach for him because I think his separation, I think his ability to get out of the top of his route tree and just make those cuts and just, the yards after catch potential. It's very LA Rams-ish in terms of his playing style. So I'm gonna reach here for Puka Nacua. I'm a big fan of his. I love his work out of BYU. And given the fact that the Rams, probably will be relegated after this year, they're going to need somebody to at least keep it somewhat competitive. And I think with everybody shifting over to Cooper Kupp, there's a target vacuum with Allen Robinson no longer being there. So and Van Jefferson, I don't know. He had his opportunity with Cooper Kupp was out, and it just didn't, materialize. So give me some Puka.
How did we not put the Rams on the relegation list at the beginning of this? Right? How did we miss them?
They've won a Super Bowl in the last couple of years. It's hard to put them on there.
So the Bucks. We put the Bucks. Garrett,
yeah,
but
they're the Bucks.
So come on, let's go.
All right, Tyler. Last pick of the draft for you. Who's it going to be?
All right, so kind of like Jorge said, the easy pick is Rashee Rice, but I would be a hypocrite if I were to take him because I like receivers that can get open.
Oh, nice.
I did not see a lot of that on his film. I saw a lot of 50-50 balls. I saw him coming down with a lot. I saw him having a little bit of run after the catch action, but he just is not breaking off at the top of his route and creating separation between these guys. So I'm not taking him. I like Cedric Tillman. I'm a little weary of the offensive in Cleveland and where all of that production is going to go. Running back wise, like there's some backups that I like left. There's Eric Gray. There's Israel Abanikanda. What I'm going to do is not take any of them and go for one of my favorite guys in the class, although his production leaves a lot to be desired. But since I'm just need to fill in another flex spot, I'm going to take Luke Musgrave.
Ooh. All right. Go Pack Go. I like it.
Yes.
What do you like about Luke Musgrave? Convince me that there is hope in Green Bay.
He is one of the best athletes you'll ever lay your eyes on. He can do everything. I mean, he's a freak show. He played all kinds of sports, and he wasn't like a football, basketball, baseball guy. He was like a football, alpine skiing, and I can't remember the third sport for the life of me.
Yeah, you're right. The skier. I knew there was a skier in the tight end group. That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. And he stayed loyal to Oregon State, could have gone to Oregon. He had trouble staying on the field. His production was left a lot to be desired. So it's a little bit of a risk, but his level of athleticism is just too high to ignore on a team where the tight end opportunities are wide open. And I don't love Tucker Kraft.
Yeah, Tucker Kraft. Yeah. And then, Tanyan left. He's in Chicago now, traitor. So he went down there. But all right, guys.
Also, I wanted to screw Garrett.
Oh.
Fair.
All right. Well, I'm going to make my pick, and then Garrett, I'm going to find out if he did, in fact, accomplish that. Okay. So I'm looking at my team here. I probably need another running back at this point. I like the running backs in this class. I think that's probably the best position group out of the entire class. And here's what I'm going to do. I like this player a lot. I think he's got potential path to being relevant for sure. It's a little crowded right now, but I think that he's got a definite clear path there. And shout out to our favorite Bills fan, Bill Mustafa. I'm taking your boy Izzy Abakanda or Bandakanda. Michael Carter, meh, right? We're not really feeling great about him. Breece Hall, may not. If he does start the season, is he going to be out 100%? Then who's left? Bam Knight, right? But here comes Izzy. So I think exactly, bam. But not that bam, because I'm not talking about Bam Knight. But yeah, I just think that he's got a path there. I think that, if everything works out like it potentially could, Breece maybe doesn't start the season, or he's not 100%. Maybe Michael Carter's not even there. Who knows? He wasn't that great down the stretch anyway. Bam Knight was okay. But Izzy's just so talented. And I think, he's got talent. He's going to have an opportunity. I think those are two things that Matthew Berry always says lead to fantasy success, right? So I think with my last pick, I like Israel Abanikanda. I also just like saying his name. I think he's a fun time, and I like the team that he's on. I like where he landed, even if it was a little bit later than we all thought that he might go. Garrett, who's your last guy?
So, Tyler, you actually helped me. I know it doesn't seem like it.
You were between the two Packers.
The Musgrave looked like the right pick. And so I felt like I had to go there. But I didn't want to pick him. Like, that's not the guy I wanted to pick. And anytime a team drafts like two players at the same position close, it always seems like the guy drafted second ends up doing better for some reason. So, like, even though that's like terrible analysis and we should never bank anything on that, it still is like stuck in my head. It's like, oh man, the second guy always does better. So I'm going to take somebody that falls in every single draft, and I can't figure out why. I don't know if it's because people didn't talk about him as much pre-draft, but I'm going to go with Luke Schoonmaker. He was also a second-round pick.
Yep.
The Cowboys were rumored to be in on Kincaid. The Bills traded up before them to take Kincaid. So there's an obvious need. They wanted a guy using a second-round draft capital. I think Schoonmaker is actually in line to have a sneaky good rookie year at the tight end position. So I have him like pegged late third in like every draft I've been in for basically all year. So it felt right to take him here, but I felt like I had to take Musgrave. So I'm actually kind of glad you took him because it saved me.
Wait,
You're welcome.
Yeah, I feel like Schoonmaker just kind of like came out of nowhere and landed in the perfect spot for somebody like that. And I think we all know Dak really loves his tight end. So I think that's a good spot for him. And I mean, Jake Ferguson, Peyton Hendershot. Okay. This is totally fine. I love this pick. Jorge, who's your Mr. Irrelevant?
Oh man. Wow, that's such a great question.
Which running back is it?
No, I'm gonna stay true to my theme that I had with Puka, and I'll go with somebody who's further down the ADP list here. But I'm thinking about with this pick, not this coming year, but potentially the year after that, or potentially another year after that. Sticking with the Bengals here, I like Charlie Jones. I think he could take over for Tyler Boyd. Give me somebody in the slot who could soak up a lot of targets from Joe Burrow for the next 5 years or so. Once Tyler Boyd is no longer on the team. So give me the shifty receiver who can soak up a lot of targets and help me in PPR. So yay.
He's like a little Swiss Army knife. Like, I love Charlie Jones so much. You're just taking all my favorite receivers over here, Jorge. I think he's a lot of fun. I think you're right. When Tyler Boyd does finally depart, he'll be a nice little replacement for him. Guys, this was so much fun. I want to take a look at our teams individually real quick. Just give us a little breakdown. Jorge, I'm going to start with you and just kind of go in that order because you picked last. So how do you feel about your team? Who's your favorite pick so far?
So how do I feel about my team? Well, given the fact that I had to reach a lot for players that probably don't have, true immediate contributory status, if that's even a thing. Players that a couple of years from now can kind of pan out. I'm definitely playing the long game with my roster. However, I love. Man, that's such a great question. I like my first pick, to be honest with you. I like Dalton Kincaid. I just feel like he's on the best offense here out of all of these players who should contribute immediately. I'm not worried about Dawson Knox. To be honest with you, Kincaid just is basically a huge receiving option. The health situation that he dealt with in college, which was what is his back, that's been cleared pre-draft. So wheels up with Dalton Kincaid in this Bills offense for me.
Love it. Garrett, who is your favorite pick from your team, and what do you think about them as a whole?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how things turned out. I was a little nervous when I realized it wasn't Snake, and I was like, oh man, I should have gone with the first pick. Like, dang. But I still got a lot of the guys that I really like to target. I think it's an overall solid lineup. Probably my favorite pick was getting CJ Stroud in the 6th round there.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was really good value that, 3 rounds from the other quarterbacks that were also in the 1st round. So I felt pretty good about that. I feel like that really helped solidify the team. I
think I like your Devon A-Chain pick the best just because he might be one of my favorite players in the draft this year, right? He's so fun. I gotta say, I think I'm gonna go with my number 1 pick as my favorite. I just really like Gibbs. I think he's just, wheels up to the moon. I think he has excellent landing spot, great offense. I just think he's really fun. And I know like people are like, oh, you're taking him number 2 overall. But I don't care. I think he's going to be productive there. I think he's going to really have a great season. And I don't think I'm going to regret that at all. So fingers crossed. Hopefully that works out for me. Tyler, tell me who's your favorite. Tyler who? Thank you, Kyle. Thank you. Tyler who? Tell me who is your favorite and what do you think about your team altogether?
I feel pretty good about my team. I'm having a little bit of regrets on the Luke Musgrave pick. I think I was doing that because I wanted to talk about Luke Musgrave. But, it is what it is. I like my first 3 picks. I started this draft. I got my RB1, my wide receiver 1, and my QB1 for 1 quarterback. So I like that little trifecta there. I got my top-ranked guy at 3 positions. So I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, I like your team a lot, guys. And we are going to be putting this up on Twitter so you can all vote and see who you think did the best job on this draft, which team you like the best. So that'll be coming, so keep a lookout for that. I just want to say a huge thank you to Garrett. Thank you so much for being so generous with your time and spending your evening with us doing this mock draft. Make sure, guys, if you're not already following Garrett, I don't know why you wouldn't be, but if you're not already, make sure that you do that. You can find him at Dynasty Price. You can also find him at Dynasty Nerds. Garrett, tell the people what you're working on. What do they have to look forward to from on your end?
Yeah. Working on all kinds of stuff right now. Busy with a lot of YouTube stuff that just trying to get out more content for the people out there. We're done with film season. We're done with Nerd Score season. So I get to breathe a little bit easier. May, June, July, you get to breathe a little bit easier, and you get to focus kind of more on your own leagues, all the startups and all the rookie drafts and all of that kind of stuff. So it's not as crazy for me at the moment, but that's what we're working on.
Awesome, guys. Well, again, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to everybody who jumped in the chat and participated tonight with us. You can find us all everywhere on social media. You can find Jorge at Jorge B. Edwards on Twitter. You can find Tyler over at FF Tyler Heil. You can find me at Stacy_Perez83. Guys, make sure that you are subscribing to our channel over on the YouTube. And we'll see you guys back next week. Have a good night, everybody.